Hello everyone, this is Jamal Thomas from the Progressive Soapbox. First of all, before we do anything else, Happy New Year! 2017, we're saying goodbye to 2016, so I think that my wife and I are going to have a yearly tradition of naming the best and the worst of that particular year. And so when I broached this idea to her, she told me who her two people were, and they essentially matched up.
I knew they would.
Yeah. So let's start with the worst of 2016. My worst of 2016.
And mine also.
Debbie Downer. Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
And who is she?
So DBS. That's what they call it. They call it DBS. I don't know.
Nobody calls her that.
So DBS decided.
Excuse me.
Worked in the DNC, helping schedule events and everything else. In regards to working in the DNC, during the elections, the primaries, she essentially tilted the DNC towards working in Hillary's favor. The Podesta emails, at the point where you read them, it makes this pretty clear. Some of it was planting stories in the news. Some of it was, it was always this assumption that it was going to be Hillary. It built into the Podesta emails over and over and over. This was the assumption. It was almost as Bernie was like an irritant of sorts. Even in Utah, that was one of the biggest ones where there was a ruckus with the primary. And they tried to say, Nevada. And they tried to say that people were throwing chairs and everything else, and DBS knew it was a lie and came out anyway, essentially admonishing Bernie Sanders for events that did not take place. So I make this case that that's the reason why the Democrats lost. Now, there are larger reasons, don't get me wrong. And when I say larger reasons, I mean having to do with the party itself, the candidate itself. But could Hillary have limped across the finish line if it wasn't for her? I think so. My reason has to do with the people who didn't vote for Hillary, for the most part, were millennials. And they didn't vote for her because they voted for Trump. They just didn't show up. You screwed over their guy. The people put out millions of dollars. They invested thousands of hours of their time, not to mention their hearts, to get that man elected and get him through the primary. And what started as a campaign that had 2% of the vote ended up leading in national polls at a certain point. Mind you, at a certain point it was too late. But the idea that you guys tilted the playing field against this guy in addition to the headwind that he already had, that's a little rough. And that's a heavy hurdle to get over in order to vote for the candidate that did that to that person. So, Debbie.
Do I give my 2 cents on why?
Go for it.
So you're a lot nicer and you're more political, more educated. I just feel like she fucked over Bernie. And if you're watching this, then you know that we were, especially my husband, die-hard Bernie supporters. I'm talking about buttons, T-shirts, Jamal taking the bus to Philadelphia to go to the rally, die-hard. And when you compare it to what we ended up with, knowing that
you could have had the other thing.
We could have had someone who, in the first time since I've ever looked at politics and since I've been alive, was passionate and honest and gave a shit, and they fucked him over.
Amazing, right?
I mean, in my lifetime,
who gave a shit.
We could have had a real progressive, and instead of that, not only did he not get a chance to run, but instead of that, we got Donald Trump. That's why she was my worst person for 2016. And I see people now, I'm still subscribed to all the Bernie Facebook pages and still get all these headlines and stuff. And I still see people saying in 2017, they're still putting shit up there saying, Bernie, go hard, go home, still burning. Bernie would have won is all over my newsfeed. So
and look, they're right. I mean, I don't know if they realize it or not, but they created a extreme division in the party. Like, the guy who everybody loved and put their hearts into is the guy that you guys fucked over. And he was too nice of a guy to be as aggressive as one would have thought, because he didn't necessarily want to damage her in the general. And they screwed him over royally. There's consequences. I mean, it's not... And look, I wanted Hillary to win this election. I wanted her to barely win, but I wanted her to win because I didn't necessarily want...
Trump in office.
I didn't want Trump in office, right. And regardless of what they did to Bernie, I still... Part of me wanted... I kind of want her to lose just so what the hurt. The other part of me said, no, because that has real world consequences, putting Trump in office.
Well, I remember you mentioning to me one time when you were struggling with, God damn it, do I vote for her or do I not?
Yeah.
And you were talking about rewarding the bad child.
Bad behavior, right.
Yeah, for bad behavior.
It's like
because after they did everything they did, the cheating, and when the emails came out, to see exactly how terrible it was.
And then do you turn around and say...
Reward that with a vote.
There's my vote. Because the monster who's behind the door. I do not like rewarding bad behavior. I mean, this is one of those moral hazard arguments. But again, what does that moral hazard argument come into play if Trump ends up killing hundreds of thousands of people? Just saying, man, I think part of the reason why Hillary lost has to do with Debbie. And I don't think it's an insignificant part. I think it probably kept people from the polls, or at the very least made them less inclined to support her.
Not to mention, Hillary hired her on after all the shit went on with Bernie.
After everything
and she
went
was
on.
removed
That's
from chair
right.
of the
I forgot about that.
Hillary was like, oh, we're going to forget the fact that you were shunned in DNC.
And we're going to
come on over here to this fucked up campaign I got going on already.
Man, I forgot about that. All right.
Yes.
So...
Segue into
my best case, 2016.
The best person for 2016. Dun dun dun.
Bernie Sanders.
Feel the burn.
Now, I get it. They're going to say, Jamal, you're being biased. You like Bernie from the start and all this. And look, that's true. But I'm not hiding my bias on this. And I have two very specific reasons. So the first reason has to do with the finances of running a campaign. So up to this point, Democrats made the argument, oh, we have to take this money. We don't have any choice. I mean, campaigns cost money. I mean, it looks like they're bribes, but I mean, we're principled, so we have to... Bernie essentially said, yeah, you don't have to do that. That's a lie. And you're just being lazy. I mean, some of this stuff has to do with expedience. If you can get somebody to give you a big check, well, that's less time you need to go out pandering money. Yeah. But the problem is, these guys spend 70% of their time asking for money anyway. So, he already showed that system was bust. If you support the people, or if you actually help the people, when you support them, when you give actual tangible policies that actually make people's lives better, actual solutions, people have a tendency to send you money.
I feel like Bernie was the people's choice for 2016.
He was the people's choice. Yeah, he literally was the people's choice. That man woke up in the mornings trying to figure out how he can make a better world. And he went to bed at night thinking the exact same thing.
For like the last 50 years.
For the last 50 years. It's amazing. I mean,
no flip-flopping.
He's just been him. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So yeah, I'm giving it to Bernie Sanders. Like I said, two reasons. Showing the financial structure to run without necessarily catering to wealthy interests. And two, showing... that was the second one. But the Overton one now. Widen the debate. So with neo-libs and Republicans in office, oftentimes you have conversations just between the rich. Like, so thoughts of the middle class, thoughts of the poor, poverty, healthcare, education, those things for the most part get swept to the side. They don't matter. And at the end of the day, these guys don't necessarily believe in using government funds to make people's lives easier. Mind you, they're getting the money from the people. They'd rather, fight wars and everything else. Bernie essentially came in and said that is obscene, and we have a social responsibility to one another to take care of each other. I suggest we use our tax dollars to actually take care of ourselves, our lives. It's a crazy prospect that it's amazing to me that that's outside the confines of debate. until this guy came onto the stage.
Right. And
So,
well, that was my reason. Again, mine was much more plain and straight and pointed.
yeah.
Because I felt like he got people talking about things that normally they're not talking about when they're running an election. The fight for 15.
Yep.
Bernie Sanders going hard every platform. Talking about free health care, free education.
He even dragged Obama on Social Security. So if you remember, when Obama first came into office, he was going to cut Social Security, which is a mind-blowing. But Clinton was going to do the same thing. He had to deal with Newt Gingrich to cut Social Security. At the end of that term, after Bernie ran, Obama was saying, yeah, we need to expand Social Security benefits.
Right.
Now, some of this had to do with him trying to make the image of the Democratic Party look a little bit better to progressives. But part of that is because of this guy.
Yeah.
Again, even Hillary Clinton was talking about expanding Social Security benefits, schools and all that other stuff. He dragged the party. At the very least, he dragged the party's rhetoric. I don't think he dragged the party. I think they were using him to try to get votes. But still, what was coming out their mouth was influenced by this guy.
Right.
So I'm going to go with that. All right, so let's go into the third story.
The second story.
Oh, you're right. It was just 2 parts. Okay. Obama to huddle with Hill Democrats on saving Obamacare. Uh-oh, the big O. He's trying to save it. So let's see what they say. And a conference call convened by House Democrats earlier this week focused largely on emphasizing the benefits of Obamacare, with House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi noting that she sees parallels between the current situation and the 2005 effort by President George Bush to privatize Social Security, according to an aide on the call. The Affordable Care Act has been successful in meeting its goals of reducing costs, increasing access, and improving quality of care, Pelosi wrote to members in a Dear Colleague letter this week. So, I think Nancy Pelosi is sorely mistaken. And I honestly think they are going to rip Obamacare limb to limb. Now, she's making the case that the situation is similar to 2005 when George Bush was trying to privatize Social Security. Here's the difference. Social Security is wildly popular. I mean, Social Security, Medicare, those services for the most part are instances of government working. And in those cases, people like them by 70% or more. Obamacare does not have that luxury. At the end of the day, it's 50-50. You have half the people who support it, half the people who don't. And I gotta be honest, most people probably don't even fully understand what it is. As opposed to saying Medicare for all, which everybody would understand, or even a public option, again, which everybody would understand. So, you add to that price increases. So the price increase went up 22%. I'll just read it. Before subsidies, the average monthly cost of a benchmark silver plan would increase by 22% in states that use healthcare.gov or where data is otherwise available, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. That number has a lot of variation. In some large states, the increases would be small or non-existent. For a 27-year-old customer in California, benchmark premiums are going up by 7%. In Massachusetts, they're set to fall 3%. But many more states are set for large hikes, with 7 looking at increases of 50% or more. If you're getting hit with a bill that's going up 50% for your health care, and the prior president essentially told you that you were forced to get health care from a private from a private company, that's going to hurt. That's going to absolutely hurt. If you were, let's say you had 2 or 3 kids, and your wife, and all of you were on your policy, 50%. Oh man, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. What Nancy Pelosi misses is that it really has nothing to do with whether Obamacare is successful as meeting its goals. It has nothing to do with that at all. It has everything to do with perception. And at the operative time, when they first launched it, they got hammered on it. And these guys ran away from it, instead of just standing their ground and saying, yeah, we need to do something about healthcare, and we did something about healthcare. So now, they're trying to play catch up. And when the public has a feeling towards it, it's fair game. They actually cut it off at the knees. And they got the votes. They own the House, the Senate, and the presidency. When they get in, they are going to bring that up for a vote. And they're talking about using what they call the reconciliation process in order to essentially eliminate it. Now, they're not going to eliminate it in the sense of just killing it overnight, because they don't have a plan to replace it.
Right.
Obamacare was their plan. Obamacare was a heritage plan. It's a right-wing, private market solution to healthcare. Obama essentially just catered to whatever they came up with. I guess he believed on some level that they were going to vote for it. He was massively naive. That being said, Obamacare is better than not having anything. And there are, I think, several millions more people who now have health care because of it. My suspicion is they're going to let it die on the vine. They're going to leave it with the problems that it has associated with costs and everything else. And at every instance, every speech is going to end up with, look at how Obamacare is just failing people. We told you that we couldn't necessarily have an overtop government solution for healthcare. And they're going to hammer it day in, day out, day in, day out. It's falling apart with people while the president is already in office. And he can't do anything about it. Because at the point where they first put it through, he didn't have a public option. And he made it so complicated that Republicans could rip out parts of it that were required for the cost reduction. Can't talk. They were required for the cost reductions. So, I'm sorry, Nancy. They're going to rip it from limb to limb. If they go after Social Security and Medicare, they got the votes for it. But it would hurt them to do that. So, either way, they're going to lie and say they made it better. And again, you're stuck in an untenable situation. So, look, I hope you guys find some defense, but I'm skeptical. Alright, so I'm going to my third and final video. Sam Seder. So the other day, we found Sam Seder wallowing in one of the stages of grief 2 months after the election. He was wearing a sweater vest and he hadn't shaved in like a day or so. And today, we have Sam in a manic episode berating somebody who sent him a letter asking essentially like, what do we do now? And the guy, for whatever reason, felt the need to explain to Sam why he didn't vote for Hillary and why he voted, and why he couldn't vote for Trump. And Sam is ranting about how ridiculous this is. So let's hear him. Let's hear him out.
He's going to be the one to be able to announce how upset we are that there's no more Medicare. Get rid of superdelegates. If they worked, they would have prevented the Clinton nomination. Well, there was a plan to diminish the number of them, but now you're saying that the superdelegates should have had more. I don't know what that is.
No, what the guy was saying, at least what it sounds like the guy was saying, was if superdelegates worked, meaning the whole premise behind superdelegates, at least the stated premise behind it, was if a weaker candidate made it through the primaries, the superdelegates could put their weight behind the stronger candidate, helping them win the primaries. It's extremely anti-democratic. I mean, the thought is, yeah, party elders need to make these decisions, or at the very least need to have an overdue influence in those decisions. So what the guy is saying was, well, look, by all available metrics, Bernie Sanders was a stronger candidate. And if superdelegates did what they were supposed to do, they would have put Bernie over the top. The guy's not saying he wants superdelegates. He's just making the case, look, if those things worked the way they were supposed to work, Bernie would have been in the general election. That's not how they worked. Which means that they're irrelevant. They don't matter. I mean, they matter in the sense when they want to put their people in office. but they don't work as the way that they're intended. Right? They don't work in the way that they're espoused to work. That's his point. I'm pretty sure Sam damn well understood what he was getting at. If they don't work, if they're perfunctory, what the hell do you have it?
Get money out of politics. Clinton outspent Trump but still lost.
I'll totally get money out of politics. A gentle liberal.
This guy sounds
Hold
ridiculous.
on 1 second. Before we get to that, I have a call with the Prime Minister of Malaysia because there's some construction, so my
Here's the
hotel has
funniest-
been delayed.
Here's the funniest part. Most of all, let democracy take its course.
Ooh,
That sounds like a
you think he made a
idea.
zinger?
Definitely let me just,
When he leans in like that, it's like, ooh, I have a really interesting point. It wasn't an interesting
get my
point.
feet wet. See how I do.
Turns out that the course that a democracy takes in this instance, when people like you are the voters, is it starts to sort of just degrade, go down into a kleptocracy, and then I like some of the moves that DNC is making. I see that EW and DS have bigger voices.
It's literally like a bad sports radio caller. Like, it's a guy calling in with, like, the same dispassion. Like, I think they should change the starting lineup up. And he doesn't even know about the team to begin with.
If Clinton would have won, it would have been the establishment Democrats running the show. Trump winning is a tough pill to swallow, but it's medicine that's very much needed for the DNC to get back in the game.
That's an asshole call. That is one of the most dickish and oddly absurd videos that I've seen in a while. Look, I have to take it easy on him to some degree because I think he's going through the stages of grief. Like I said the other day, he looked like he was going to slit his wrist. But today he's having a manic episode where he's bashing somebody who essentially said, I couldn't get over the hump to vote for Hillary. Dude, you do understand that there is a difference between Green Party members, people who voted for Joe Stein, whether ideologically or just party-wise, than Hillary supporters and the Democratic Party. I mean, he's acting as if these things are interchangeable. Like, well, this guy should have voted for Hillary. Why? They're in a different party. Why would the person... That argument is weird to me.
It's like, this downtown, this hotel in...
Yeah, that argument is absolutely weird to me. Votes are earned, not bestowed. And if she could not make the argument to be an orange reality show host that for the most part was a con man most of his life. What? I mean, you're essentially attacking the least thing in the list of problems for that particular election. And look, the guy did not waste his vote. Any vote that goes towards wanting somebody to win is a good vote. And I'm saying that to say, yes, there are better reasons than others to actually put a candidate in office and to make a particular vote. But anytime you're voting against somebody instead of for somebody, you're giving yourself problems. You completely decouple your vote from anything that person does. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you put Hillary Clinton in office. And in 4 years, Hillary Clinton has privatized Social Security, has put troops in Syria, has opened up North Dakota pipeline. In 4 years, do you vote for her again? And look, I'm telling you, you're not going to primary her. That's not going to happen. Democrats are going to be screaming at the top of their lungs saying, oh my God, you can't primary her. That's the first thing. So second thing is, what's the point of your vote? I mean, if you say, yes, I would vote for her again because whoever Republicans are going to put up is going to be batshit crazy, then you've essentially put yourself into a trap where you're going to, in perpetuity, have to vote for Democrats. I mean, look, there's a reason we don't negotiate with hostages. I mean, we don't negotiate with terrorists. You invite that behavior to continuously happen. And Democrats, under the political spin of calling themselves moderates, are essentially perpetually less worse. That's what they've become. That's the party. So I think his insufferableness is coming from this belief that it is absurd to have voted for anybody other than Hillary, which I think is a fucking ridiculous argument to make. Let me put it in these terms. What's the point of gradualism if it still leads you off of a cliff? Like, you can take gradual steps and still end up off of a cliff. My point is, yes, Hillary Clinton is the more moderate of candidates between the two. But the issues that are facing the country go beyond the need for moderates. Like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a no-win situation. So, let's, just on one issue alone, climate change. They're talking about temperatures hitting 10 degrees if nothing was done. Now look, Republicans, I give it to you, they just say it's a hoax. Democrats, on the other hand, say it exists, but none of the solutions that they propose go anywhere near addressing the issue. They don't. So it doesn't really matter if they agree that it exists. If the steps that they take are so feckless and weak that it's almost as if they didn't do anything at all. What does it matter? That's my point. In these situations, it's not all that clear to me that what takes place under Trump is going to be somehow disastrously worse than what's going to take place under Clinton. And look, I did not want Trump to win. Like I said, I wanted Hillary Clinton to barely win. But he's making it as if it's a slam dunk. Like, oh, strategically, the man hasn't even taken office yet, and already it's clear slam dunk that this is going to turn out horribly, and that the long-term goals of this and blah, 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 blah. Like I said, Sam's a psychic. I don't know what this is going to turn out to be. What I do know is, it's almost as if he took his car into a mechanic and he says, well, 50% of the problem is your transmission. You have 30%, that's your muffler. You have another 15%, that's your engine. But the guy who you let ride your car the other day rolled over a nail. And so there's a few percentage points for that. And he says, God damn it, Tom. You have all these other big issues that you need to tackle, or that you can tackle. Whether it's, hell, the easiest to think of is the Electoral College. I mean, for that matter, what about voter suppression? I would guarantee you that there were more votes that were shoved off the rolls using suppression tactics in those states than Jill Stein. Jill Stein made 1% of the goddamn vote. Really? Like, this is a guy this is the thing that you want to kick of all the issues that you can poke a stick at. Whether it's, not necessarily having federally funded elections, not necessarily having a situation where parties themselves control the outcome of those elections or run the machinery of those elections. So a Democrat has a vested interest in a Democrat winning, and yet they're controlling the mechanics of the process. All I'm saying is, of all the issues and all the things that needs to be addressed, what the fuck are you picking on this guy? Come on, man. And look, I'm also not all that. The guy is making this argument that, yeah, at some point it may cause a political realignment in the party. That losing disastrously may affect how the party is made up and may affect the values of the party. Actually, I don't know if it's true or not. What I do know, I think there's a chance for it. And I also think that the only chance for the party to have realigned itself was going through this blunt force rejection of what's been called the Democrat for the past 20 years. So, look, man, I really don't like Sam's perspective on this. And not so much, I think some of the stuff sounds a little bit mean-spirited. And not to mention, I think he's wrong. I mean, democracy is not the issue. If your issue is other people, look, half the country doesn't vote. Why are you picking on the 1%? So, alright guys, I'm going to end it. Feel free to like the video or subscribe if you like the content. Thank you.